Story 1. It started with my 15-year-old child having a major open heart surgery and is ending with her not here after a slow and complicated death. An entire year of suffering for all of us. Story 2. Terrible. I had cancer twice and had to do chemotherapy, which was extremely difficult. I'm really trying to overcome this and give myself a better future in 2025. I'm absolutely drained. Story 3. I was getting frustrated at feeling like I was putting all the effort in, so I decided to dial back and basically only reciprocate. So now I feel like I don't have any friends. Story 4. Honestly, 2024 was mediocre. Not the worst, not the best. Some highs, some lows, but we survived, right? It's giving meh energy, but I'll take it over complete chaos. Story 5. It started with one of my former best friends of 12 years, who wanted to try having a relationship together, cheating on me within 3 months. Then, when I was asked out by a coworker at the office, I broke my cardinal rule of never dating coworkers because after the shock of being cheated on, how could things get any lower, right? Things were all right for a bit until, after several months, she just suddenly went no contact. No reason, no follow-up. She's not seeing anyone from what I can tell. She just cut me out. We had no fights, we even took a trip out of state for a wedding. It was just suddenly done. I've lost 3 dogs, dealt with hurricane damage, been the sole information technology support for the company I work at for the last year for over 150 people, and I've been getting run ragged. I celebrated my birthday alone because my family was all out of town, and my friends were all busy. I was hospitalized for a weekend because they thought I needed to get my appendix removed due to frequently evacuating blood from my rectum. It turned out I just had really bad food poisoning, and it made my organs engorge themselves with a lot of blood from Escherichia coli. On the plus side, I went to Japan this year and had a really fun trip for 2 weeks. My uncle was kind enough to give me his much newer, 3-year-old used car to replace my 15-year-old car. Story 6. Started the year off with my girlfriend, now ex, in deployment overseas, and she ended up getting pregnant with someone she met there. Spent this entire year depressed, confused, angry, and fatigued because of the heartbreak. Ended this year feeling better somehow, but still struggle knowing the fact that she's out there with a new baby and new relationship, and doesn't even know the damage and turmoil she caused me. Oh well, I guess that's life. Story 7. After my wife had 5 miscarriages over 2 years, we were going to give up. Then my son was born in July, happy and healthy. After a few years of depression and panic attacks, I can say that 2024 has been a little brighter. Story 8. 2 deaths in the family this year. I think I'm at the age where everyone just dies. This marks 4 immediate family members and 1 extended family member in 3 years. It's at the point where I now feel, well, here we are again, same funeral home and same funeral representative. Story 9. Pretty unfortunate, to be honest. I lost my house and everything in it due to Hurricane Helen, and due to all the stress, my fiancé of 10 years broke up with me. So, I am definitely hoping for a better year in 2025. Story 10. Terrible, with high points including being depressed over a breakup, the furnace catching fire, so no heat, the landlord rescinding my lease, and a demotion at work. I've been couch surfing and crashing with friends and family since the summer. I've put 3 offers on houses and had to withdraw all of them. Oh, and the other day, someone chased me down a street while I was driving, claiming I scratched their car mirror. I didn't, but whatever. And now I have to deal with the police and an insurance claim. Don't even get me started about the elections. I'm so over 2024. Story 11. In 2023, I faced challenges after a job loss and subsequently taking a difficult job out of desperation. 2024 is the year I have finally started getting everything back on track. Story 12. Meh. Walked out of 2 jobs I hated and found my dream job and also found my soulmate. One of the better years lately for me personally. Hope everyone can find some happiness on this messed up planet. Story 13. It started off awful. I met my ex-boyfriend in January. He was very emotionally abusive. Although we had some good times and memories, he still treated me very badly, and I started self-harming because of him, keeping in mind I hadn't self-harmed since my teens, and I'm 31 now. I left him in April and he moved back to his home country. I then met my wonderful boyfriend who literally saved me from my ex-boyfriend, and life since meeting him has been nothing but positive. I had a great trip to Egypt this year, gained self-confidence and independence, and went to my very first wedding. It's been a roller coaster of a year, and I've done a lot of traveling around my own country too this year. So I can sum 2024 up and say that it's been both a good and bad year. I am ready for a new year, though, and have a lot to look forward to next year. Story 14. My mom died after a long and ugly battle with Alzheimer's. I got fired from my dream job, contracted long COVID, and my car's engine seized because of a mechanic error during an oil change. My other car got sideswiped while parked, and I had to be my own detective to get an insurance claim. I still have long COVID and haven't been working since the spring, and my dog went blind a month ago. I'm almost 50 years old and lived a hard party life with lots of ugly years. 2024 wins by a terrible mudslide. Story 15. If the end couldn't have been any worse than now, I was playing at a festival last weekend, and now I also need to beg for my payment. I still haven't received any payments. Story 16. Ending the year without achieving the goal I had set for myself. The only reason I'd consider it a good year was because I met my girlfriend on January 2nd and my life has been so much better with her in it, despite the challenges. Story 17. 50-50 really. Didn't have to pay alimony anymore, moved to a nicer apartment, got to see Saturday Night Live, but then my 10-year-old dachshund died suddenly, a string of really bad dates, the horrible election, and finally getting laid off. I'm ready for this year to be over. Story 18. Basically, my worst year ever in my life. Even though I managed to get a brand new Lexus, basically for free from stock market gains. Still worst 1 out of 48 years I've been alive. Story 19, pretty bad. Just as bad as 2023 was, despite saying this is my year. I know now that's a bunch of nonsense, and I'm working on saying today is my day instead. Slow steps. Had to cut off a lot of toxic people this year, leaving me extremely lonely, as well as issues with my family's health, my pet, and a lot more mental issues than I want to admit. Just glad the year is almost over, and I can say I feel true growth this year. Not just a sentimental post-worthy growth, but actual evolution. Story 20. Well, my rescue girl corgi passed away. My other corgi slipped a disc and is partially paralyzed. My cat died. On the other hand, I went to Japan and saw Formula One at Suzuka. I got a promotion at work. I have been able to regularly work out for the first time in 8 years after a string of injuries. Mixed bag, high highs and low lows. Miss my girl, but mostly a good year. Story 21. I've reached the inflection point of being more experienced and educated than the vast majority of hiring managers. That sounds like fun, but it makes holding down a job practically impossible. Being overeducated in this job market is awful because the only way I can secure work is by compromising my moral integrity. Story 22. I got engaged a few days ago, so I'd say it ended pretty well, especially since the only time we ever spoke about marriage was when we first started dating, and he told me he wasn't the marrying type, and I said I was okay with that. So yes, it washed away all the difficulties that 2024 threw at me. I also found out I'm getting a niece soon. So, bring it on 2025. Story 23. On a scale of 1 to 10 of unpleasantness levels, I'd give it a 7. My girlfriend of 2 years broke up with me. I dealt with my 4th year at university on my own, and exams overwhelmed me with all of that. Story 24. Began it in residential rehabilitation and completed 6 months. Things were seemingly good. After 10 months, I relapsed and at the same time fell in love. I was homeless and introduced to crystal meth. I sorted myself out again. Then I was an idiot after Christmas and now I'm heartbroken, full of shame, and wishing I had the courage to end it. Story 25. Started super rough after separating my acromioclavicular joint early February, then losing my job in early March, but it really turned around after finding a new gig in June. Story 26. It wasn't the worst. Wasn't the best. I finally am on a combination of medicine that makes me feel normal, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and depression, and slowly building my life back. Working out and dieting, lifestyle changes. Here's to a good 2025. Story 27. The year 2024 has been extremely difficult. Severe concussion, layoffs, medical issues, cancer scares, and my husband was diagnosed with malignant melanoma. Still breathing and thankful but hoping for a better 2025. Story 28. 50-50. Lots of great, lots of awful. My wife had a really tough year at work. Constant letdowns and disappointments from upper management. We both got COVID-19 for the first time, then twice more, then the flu. We were constantly sick this year. It really sucked. A series of 5 tornadoes ran through our town, the first time we had any tornado activity in 60 years. Tearing a tree limb down, which ripped our power meter off the wall, costing us about $3,000 to fix, 2 months before our wedding that we were hosting at our house. That said, we got married. It was lovely, and I got a serious promotion. When I start Thursday, my cousin got married, and my other cousin had a baby. I redid my patio, cut down a tree, did some nice work on my yard, got back into music, my wife got hooked on plants, got some fish tanks really stable, our puppies grew out of some bad habits, and our older dogs grew into some bad ones of their own, kind of all over the place. I really hope this next year is less eventful. I know it won't be, what with the big orange in charge again, but maybe I'll be able to enjoy some semblance of peace anyway. Story 29. Grandma's tumor spread to her brain. A lawyer is fighting for child support from dad. I was scammed by a vacation apartment renting service. Our home started getting infested by mold in 3 out of 5 rooms. We are renting, and the landlord doesn't do anything. I lost a few friends. I lost a hobby. My laptop broke, and I'm fighting with the insurance over a replacement. My general practitioner, the only doctor I truly trusted, died. But honestly, I can't say that I hated 2024. Obviously, it sounds bad if I list everything that went wrong, but it also had its fair share of good moments. Story 30. It was a roller coaster year for me. We thought my mom had beaten breast cancer in 2023, but I took her to the emergency room in January and found out she had 15 tumors in her brain. My first child was born in March, and a week later my mom passed away. Being a dad has been amazing, but I miss her. None of us were ready to lose her, and my siblings abandoned me and my wife to clear out her house with a 2-week-old baby. To add to it, I was up for a big promotion at work essentially all year. It looked like a sure thing until literally 1 business day before, when they canceled that job and reduced 20% of leadership positions. I still have a job, but the future is a strange one. Definitely ready to leave 2024 behind. Story 31. Got a serious illness. Spent almost a month in the hospital these past 5 months. I am missing a major organ. My dog died. My dad might go to jail, but he also got scammed out of a lot of money. I lost a good friend as well. And I missed out on a promotion from work because of the illness. If the year 2025 is shaping up to be worse, I just hope it takes me out, because this year was difficult, and there was more, but I feel like this gets the point across. Story 32. I always wanted to help take care of my grandfather, grandmother, and aunt with bills and take some things off their plate when it came to money. I guess to show them I made something of myself. They all passed in the first half of this year. I had a significant financial windfall in November. None of them lived to see it. Bittersweet. Story 33. Started with me in a mental hospital. Had to hire an attorney to get custody of my daughter back from my friends. Now basically have 0 contact with anyone outside of my relationship, my daughter and her activities and regular life. It's ending much differently than it began, and certainly better in many ways. Story 34. At 39, I had a heart attack in February, then got diagnosed with diabetes, then went into diabetic ketoacidosis, then got diagnosed with gastroparesis. Spent mid-February to May in the hospital. While in the hospital, I lost 60 pounds, most of it my muscles. Got pneumonia in July and was in the hospital for a week. Finally got released, and 2 days later had a gastroparesis flare-up and was in the hospital for another 10 days. Had another gastroparesis flare-up in October and spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I also developed pretty severe anxiety. 2024 was very difficult. Story 35. Definitely not as bad as some I just read, but my health problems spiked really badly, and I was bedridden on and off for a large part of the year. Cost me friends and lovers. Even for a guy who's been on disability support pension since 22, it was an 8.5 out of 10 on the difficulty scale, maybe. Heart goes out to all these people in the comments. Story 36. I hit complete burnout, left British Columbia, my favorite place, and moved back home because I was starting to plan my suicide, and I didn't want to do that to my family. I am beyond broke and pretty much completely hopeless. I genuinely do not understand how I'm supposed to support myself. The work I enjoy doesn't pay enough, and the work that pays enough kills my soul. Everything feels pointless. So, pretty good. Story 37. If I could rate this year on a scale of 1 to 10 of terrible, it would be a 100. But I will say the difficult experiences and the ups and downs taught me valuable lessons, and the perspective I gained from this is invaluable. While I'm thankful for the experiences and lessons, I am also happy to put this year behind me and bid goodbye. I'm ready for 2025. Story 38. My family has had a rough time. My cat got sick. We saved him, but it wasn't cheap. My parents' dog had to be put down. Then both of their cats died within a week of each other. Then my sister's dog died. Then just last week, my 3-year-old niece was diagnosed with leukemia. The year progressively got worse as it went on. I just hope the new year is the end of that trend. Story 39. In the grand scheme of things, it was okay overall. I built a nice fence around my backyard, went on a big camping trip, went to a family reunion and reconnected with many distant cousins, saved up a decent amount of money after spending it all at the end of last year paying off all my student loans, ran my first marathon, and finally hit 225 pounds on bench press. It's hard to keep that all in perspective because I also entered my first ever relationship with the woman of my dreams, only to get my heart badly broken, and that's cast a shadow over everything. I'm not totally over it yet, but I'm at least coming around to the realization that someday I hopefully will be.